We're here with Julian, my old budget build, made with the Chinese finest. Even got Chinese names. Fried rice subs. But what we're talking about today is a lot of people don't understand strapping amplifiers. And here you can see we got a master slave switch right here. And I'm gonna tell you kind of how I got these. They're dual 2 subs, and I basically took a coil, and hooked to this amp. The other coil, the other coil, the other coil to that amp. Now, that puts each amp at 0.67 in here, which is what I want. But there's an alternative that I could have done. I could have wired 4 ohm, 4 ohm, 4 ohm, and that would have gave me 133. I could have strapped these amps, and in turn, that would have given me 0.67 per amp. But, and that's kind of how it works, because whatever ohm load that 2 amplifiers are at, it splits it in half to each amp. So, you know, 4, 4, and 4, because they're dual 2s. If I made each one 4 ohm, then that would give me 133, which each amp would see 0.67, which is where they're at right now. I don't have them like that because I've done a lot of swap up in this Jeep. I've done it, used it to test a bunch of different things and brands, and I'm constantly swapping things around, so I just kind of left it where it's at. But for the people wondering, how do you strap? The first thing you do is you take that switch and you would put 1 amp on master. So let's say this would be master. We would put this switch on slave. Now at that point, you would hook your RCAs in here and run a single RCA cable from this output to this input. That's all you need, is that 1 RCA going from the master to the slave. Now it gets tricky. You would take your 2 ground terminals here. You could just do 1 wire from this ground terminal to ground terminal here. You connect the amp's ground terminals. On my 8Ks, I do both. I connect both ground terminals, just more wire, you know. Now that the grounds are connected on both amps, the speaker output grounds would be connected. At this point, this master would become speaker positive. So the positive speaker terminal on this amplifier would in turn be the positive. The positive terminal on the slave now would become speaker negative. And at that point, all the wiring will be done. You know, you still got your remote turn on and your power and ground on both amps. But at this point, when this amp here is on slave, none of these knobs do anything at all. They're worthless. At that point, you would adjust the gain on the master amp, and it'll control the pair. The crossover will control the pair. Phase will control the pair. The filters control the pair. That is how it works. So there are some benefits to running amp strapped. Where they really come in handy is if you have, say, amps that are 1 ohm stable, but you don't want to wire them down to a half, and say you have 2 dual 2 subwoofers. You know, you could still run like 1 amp, you know, the dual 2s together be 1 ohm. But let's just, for the sake of argument, you can't use dual 2s and get, or 2 dual 2s and get a 1 ohm load. So you would wire like that sub to 4, that sub to 4. Parallel, you got a 2 ohm load. You could strap the amps, and now you get each amp would see 1 ohm. So that's where they kind of really shine. I do it because I run 3 subs per pair in Jangalang. Like, I only have 4 amps on 6 subs. And for me, it's easier to strap I like that I only got to gain match 2 amps, you know. Oh, and when you gain match, the same thing as I said before. This amp controls everything, but to gain match a pair strapped, the grounds are connected. So, speaker positive on the plus here, speaker negative on the plus here. Put your multimeter on positive here, multimeter on negative here, just like you normally would, because that's the 2 speaker wires. And at that point, you do all your multimetering for gain matching there. But with me strapped, I only got to gain match 2 amps versus 4. It's a benefit. I like the simplicity of the wiring. I'm only wiring up 2 amps versus wiring up 4. So basically, I have 2 speaker wire terminals coming out of my enclosure, you know, because I run them strapped. Now, let's just say I could actually take 3 subs, 1 coil per 3, how I got this wired, to 1 amp, 1 coil per 3. And I could do that on pairs of amps, just like I have this wired in here, and vice versa. So I could run 3 coils per amplifier. It's easier not having to worry about phase or anything, you know, whatever, by me strapping them, because the full subwoofers are on them 3 amps versus how I have it in here. If I'm in the middle of playing and I blow this amp, then I only got 1 coil working on each subwoofer, and things can get sketchy at that point. But hey, you do what you do. This is a amp strapping video, so that's what we're discussing. Now, as I said, there are benefits to strapping amps, especially like in jangling. It just works for me. Now, the simplicity of only adjusting 2 amps versus 4, I like it. But there is a downfall, and that downfall has bit me in the ass more than once. If you have your amp strapped, let's say these are strapped, they're not, but we'll say they are. And I'm at a show beating, and for whatever reason, let's just say my electrical gets a little weak, and the old Bruce Lee here decides to lead the chat. It's master. It's going to lead a chat. It's taking old Bruce Lee down here with it. When you have amp strapped and you blow a master, then the slave automatically goes with it. That's just how it works. 90% of the time, if you blow the slave, it will take the master with it. So instead of blowing 1 amp, you blow in 2. There has been an instance in Jangalang a couple years ago at Ruckus. I blew a slave and the master was okay. Celebrate time, right? Yes. Yes, that was a nice one, because I had went through a little spell where I was blowing amplifiers pretty regularly, mind you. And I was always blowing 2. That happens, you know. It just happens. When you're strapped, generally you'll blow a pair. Whatever, you know. But in that instance, I did just blow 1 amp and everything was good. So you can sit down and kind of figure out ohm loads, and if you can kind of see, you know, where you would want to be and whatever final ohm load you have, if you strap, it'll cut it in half per amp. So let's just go over it again. Let's see. I got a final ohm load of 2 ohms. I hook them up to these amps strapped. This amp would get 1. This amp would get 1. In reality, right now, I could wire all of these at 133. This amp would get 6.7. This amp would get 6.7. And it would give me better control than I have now, because let's just say, even though they're gain matched, this amp wants to put out 100 more watts than this one, then the coils are fighting each other. It don't really affect a whole lot, but it could make a difference, you know, just whatever. But it is what it is, guys. That's just kind of how strapping works. So we'll go over it again. If this is going to be master, we set the switch to master, set that one to slave. RCA's in here. 1 single RCA from output there to here on input, which they're whatever, but that's just how it is. They're not labeled output or input. Then the speaker ground on each amp connect. A wire from ground here to there on ground. In turn, this speaker output positive becomes positive. The slave speaker positive becomes speaker negative. That is strapping. All of these are null and void on the slave. All your controls are on the master. Now, I kind of wanted to go over this because I had a call at DS18 of some younger guy. I can't remember what kind of brand amp he had. It wasn't one of our amps, but he was using our sub, so I helped him. He was talking about, in the book to the amp, and it was a mono amp, it said bridge mode. And he's like, it says the power doubles in bridge mode. And when he confirmed that it was a mono amp, I'm like, you have to talk about strapping. So they do, in some manuals, refer to bridge mode or bridging two mono amps together. And I'm like, well, I kind of probably need to do a video on strapping amplifiers. So we're just kind of doing a quick video on strapping amplifiers. And we used this old Jeep here as the model for the video. I'll go back here to Jangalang real quick and just show you, because them amplifiers are strapped. I put new stickers on it too, guys. Look at that. A big DS18 for my son Devin I lost. I got my team AINTLOUD. Put a pink DS18 there. I don't know, I'm going overboard with the pink, but I love eating that stuff. DS18, we like it loud on the windshield. So, anyway, it's getting dark out here. I was in here earlier looking around. So you can see my amplifier negatives. Them wires go out, which RCA's gray also, but you can see they go into speaker negatives there. As I said earlier, I connect both of them together. This is master, so speaker positive, speaker negative is in this positive terminal here. I got these short RCA strapping cables, so out of this pin, or RCA, into that one, the mono. As you can see here, I have nothing hooked there. So, with this being master, I use the knobs here and just leave them alone. And this one's done the same way. We got RCA inputs there, my strap cable out, that's the speaker positive. The negatives come out, down under here, and go to there. Then from the side of the enclosure, that's my speaker negative and that positive terminal. So that is strapping for beginners. Honestly, these were the first amplifiers I ever strapped. And at the time, the DS18 manual didn't tell me how to do it. I was contacting DS18, and Aaron told me, he's like, I think you connect the grounds together on them amps. I'm not 100%. I actually went to Sundown Audio and their old, this SCV amps they had. Them tanks, the black ones they had that had the gray stripe through here. Might not have been as powerful as the salts, but they were way better quality. I just said that, I shouldn't have. Anyway, them SCV amps are a beast. Anyway, I looked at the manual on one of those and followed their strapping guide, and lo and behold, it worked perfect. So since then, I strapped amps in there, and I have strapped Dustin's amps. Probably wondering why I have them strapped in there. Well, that's always had dual 4s in it. Now here's a good scenario where strapping comes in handy. Dual 4s, 4 amps. Now, I could wire each amp down to 2, or each sub down to 2 ohm, wire them parallel. And while they're paralleled, I could run each amp at 2 ohms. Don't work for me. So I wire each subwoofer to 2 ohm, parallel the 2 subs together, strap 2 amps, and now I've got a 1 ohm load going to 2 amps, half ohm. So that's where it became beneficial in the Blazer, because that's basically my options is a half ohm, or 2 ohms. We all know amplifiers don't make the most power at 2 ohm when they're rated to do power at 1. So anyway, guys, I'm walking around my yard. The sky is beautiful tonight. The weather's warm. It's Wednesday. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this video up tonight. But that's just kind of my go over of strapping amplifiers. So if you got any questions, drop them down in the comments. I'll try to get to them. I check them periodically. Or I know there's going to be people in there in the comments that'll help answer your questions also, because people that watch my shit are cool like that. But anyway, that's about all I got for y'all this evening. We are definitely getting up early Saturday morning and driving 3.5 hours to Greenville, North Carolina to the Turn Down for What show. At this point, we are definitely planning on taking the Blazer and Jangalank. So, I hope I see some of y'all there. If you watch my shit on YouTube, be like, dude, I watch your shit on YouTube. Okay, I appreciate that. And it's cool as hell getting calls from guys at work that just call, like, they hear my voice when I talk to them. I'm like, your Jerry ain't loud, ain't you? That shit's kind of cool. Just to know that a lot of people do watch my shit. But anyway, yeah, I'm getting ready to go watch some more One Piece, guys. And I'm not talking that live action shit that Netflix did. I've been watching One Piece for years. I'm on like episode 985. I'm watching that shit forever. So, yeah, I'm going to go watch some One Piece, guys. Peace out, and as always, base.